Hello and welcome to another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show, where this week we're super excited to have the purveyor of the Top Gun offense, the brand new offensive coordinator at Drake University, Mr. Joe Matheson, on the show. Also just coming off a D3 National Championship, so really excited to have him on the show. The Top Gun offense has been all the rage everywhere, and I certainly have enjoyed many of the elements with it. I've often joked on the show I'm the worst. We might have quite a dichotomy on the show today. We have the worst RPO coach in the country with me, and maybe the best one with Coach over there. So super excited to have him on. But before we get into the topic at hand, just want to take a moment to remind everybody the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show is brought to you by School Funder, the only online fundraising company in America that lets you keep all of the money your team raises. Coaches would never give away 20% of their wins, but they routinely give away 20% of their proceeds in fundraising when they don't have to. Contact the good people at School Funder at schoolfundr.org and let them know the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show sent you, as it'll help the show. While you are helping the show right now, hit subscribe. Our viewership is heading over to the 20,000 mark, which I know is not great for a lot of people, but pretty exciting for us. So we're excited about that. Getting those subscriptions up is the next goal. So hit that button right now. It's not going to get you any spam. You're not going to get any email from me. It's not going to cost you a penny. All it's going to do is give you updates when we have new episodes. Those of you that watch the show know we bring out our new episodes every single Wednesday. So, Coach, one of the things we always do when we have guys on, and it's always one of my favorite parts of the show, is we talk to you a little bit about your football story. So, kind of tell us a little bit about your football story.
Well, thanks so much for having me on. I'm pumped to do this. You know, we've always had a stronghold in Arizona in recruiting, and it's really good football, and just getting to see that recognized and seeing a lot of different faces on there. I think you've done an incredible job with it. So thank you for that. But yeah, my journey's a little bit different than most when it comes to this profession. So I was born and raised in a big family in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and Green Bay is just a community. Football is everything. It's in the fabric of everything you do. You're always counting down the days to training camp when you're a kid, and I mean, you're there in the Packers parking lot, you know, doing fundraisers for your school. Like my high school, we got the hand-me-down cleats from the Packers equipment, you know, the whole deal. So it's woven within the fabric of the community. And I was a good high school football player, but I played center. I was, 6 foot, 215 pounds, could pull out on the edge. And I was all conference, all area, team captain, the whole deal. But I had a pretty good idea my football career wasn't going to go too much further than that, just with my size. And I wanted to coach. I always knew I wanted to coach. And I had an opportunity to go to the University of Minnesota. The second I graduated, I had a chance to get out to Minneapolis and start with Jerry Kill and the staff at the University of Minnesota, which is a great experience for me. And it was whatever they'd let me do, setting up the cans, doing the laundry, making copies. And throughout the 4 years I was there, I kind of worked my way up from a manager position to, by the end of my time at the University of Minnesota, I was signaling personnel and doing different things on the offensive side of the football, which was tremendous because at that time at Minnesota, there weren't all these analyst positions or giant staffs like there are now, so I had really good access, and it was a great opportunity to just learn how the profession worked and be in a professional setting like that. Unfortunately at the time, Coach Kill had to step down due to health reasons, so there was some turnover in my last year there. And I was lucky enough then to jump on with Coach Corey Sauter at the university, or at Southwest Minnesota State University. He was a Minnesota alum, so we had that connection. And that's where I first got exposed to playing a little bit faster and using some creative ideas within an offensive system. So I spent 2 years at the Division II level as the tight ends coach. So Corey Sauter, Brian Frana, just some of the ideas they had with offensive football at the time. I think they were ahead of the curve. And then from there, I arrived at River Falls in 2018. So I was the wide receivers coach for my first 2 years at River Falls before getting the offensive coordinator position over COVID, actually.
Coach, I had no idea you were a center. That's pretty exciting. I was also, unlike you, I was not all area or all. I think I might have been third team all cul-de-sac, but I
Hey,
was
there you go.
also a center. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Obviously, been exposed to a lot of different things. Talk to me a little bit about one of the things that was so, I think, exciting, and the UW River Falls this year had a former Badger, 23 alum Jake Hilton there on their national championship team. But one of the things that was so really cool in watching all the success you guys had this year is you kind of saw it get built a little bit there. There was not, and the other thing that was really cool is a lot of times nowadays college coaches don't get to stick around through all of that. And I think one of the maybe the lessons there for guys is that you let guys establish their vision and give them a little bit of time. Now, particularly at certain levels, that's just not going to happen. But you guys really, I mean, it didn't happen overnight. So talk to us a little bit about that process at UW River Falls to becoming a national champion, because it wasn't like turn switch. I mean, it was a process in doing that. So walk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, well, so I was saying, I grew up in the state of Wisconsin, and I have two older sisters, a younger brother. They went to UW Stout. There's this university system in Wisconsin. It's a really good university system. I had never heard of River Falls. I had no idea where it was. So, that's a problem to start. Right? I'm from the state, and I don't even know where this place is. And this is a program that hadn't been 500 in over 20 years, by the time I got the OC job. But credit goes to our head coach, Matt Walker, and then you got to shout out Coach Wissing as well, our defensive coordinator, who had been with him the whole time. This is a program that had 40 kids on roster when he took over. So the administration giving him some runway to build it the right way where he could get the numbers up first. Okay, the numbers are up. Now let's get more quality football players as a part of those numbers, and all the things off the field, and having dedication in the classroom and being involved in the community. I think all those boxes were getting checked as I got to the program in 2018, but we just weren't that competitive yet on the field. So that foundation was built, and the runway was there to get it done, and then you just need somebody with a vision like Coach Walker. I remember when I was interviewing, he's like, I really believe we can win a national title here. And I'm like, well, how about getting to 500 for, I was like, what is he talking? He was right, but you need somebody like that with the vision to continue to fight and battle, because I think it was 15 years for Coach Walker there at River Falls. So, again, credit to him and credit to Coach Wissing, and, lucky to bring some element of value through our system on the offensive side of the ball to help reach those goals.
Now, Coach, as you guys embark here at Drake, what has been the process there? What are the first things you got to establish in your program? Obviously, recruiting is a huge deal. I mean, the Jimmies and the Joes are extremely important, obviously, but what was kind of the plan when you got there? What were the boxes that need to be checked right away at Drake?
Yeah, so you're talking about two totally different situations. So, River Falls talking about low numbers and issues with maybe the culture and things that needed to get repaired. You're walking into a situation here at Drake where, we've won 3 straight conference titles here at Drake. So the culture is really good, and these kids are resilient because they've had 3 different staffs in 3 years now, and that's not easy. But I think that was one thing that was evident is you're walking into a situation, our guys here work hard. Our guys here do the right things. All those boxes we talked about before, that's getting done here. The only differences will be just the style of play, the contrast in the style of play, and I think guys have really embraced having the conviction you need to play differently and think differently offensively, and they're excited about it. And it's not to say it's any better or worse than what they were doing before. It's just, hey, now as we march forward to our future goals, this Top Gun system, guys are really buying into it.
So talk to me a little bit about it, about your offensive philosophy, and specifically, where the Top Gun came from. Ideas, was this something kind of just your baby, or talk to me a little bit about your offensive philosophy in general.
Yeah, I think the one thing about it that's been fun and challenging at times is it really is kind of it's a unique system. It's not a retread of anything else across the country. It's something we built organically at River Falls. It was something we thought we needed in order to compete, and I think there was an evolution over time. One thing I truly believe while we were at SMSU is that playing with tempo and attacking defenses, getting the ball snapped as fast as you can, it led to better execution. And I think one of the psychological hurdles at River Falls right away, we hadn't seen a lot of success. We hadn't had a winning season, like I said. It was over 20 years. So how can we leave that behind? And I think one way was play the next play. Don't dwell on the past. Don't worry about maybe a mistake you made. Oh, here we go again. I think that can pop up in kids' heads. Oh, here we go again. This is something new. We're going to be on the attack. We're going to assert our dominance on the defense. And I think we proved right away when we rolled out the system in 2021 that was true. We went 9-2 and won a bowl game and had the most wins in school history at the time. But you got to give a lot of credit to our defensive staff and everyone that worked with us in the year of 2020. So that whole year, my first year as an offensive coordinator, we didn't play a game. We didn't play a single game. So we just practiced and scrimmaged against ourselves. So we got to make adjustments, see what worked, see what didn't work. And I thought we did a really good job working out some of the kinks in the system, especially schematically, in 2020, to then roll out a nice version of the offense in 2021. But I think one hallmark, we're going to play fast. We want to attack defenses. We want to snap it as many times as humanly possible in a football game. We like playing on offense. We want to play as much football as possible as the game's rolling. We want to play a ton of offense. We want to play a ton of different guys. We want to have depth at all our positions and expose guys to playing in football games, and I think guys embrace that element. We're going to be really aggressive. We've gone for it more than any other NCAA team on fourth down. We're always on the attack. That allows you to take more shots. So if you're willing to use that fourth down as your third down, now you can take more shots on early downs and create more explosive plays. And I think that whole environment's made it really competitive within our unit. Now, I think the interesting thing, and like you were talking about with RPOs or whatever it may be, that stuff's really changed and evolved every year. I would say schematically, first year of the system to now, it's dramatically different. But to me, that's not what makes it a Top Gun. It's all about the attacking style, the tempo, all those core beliefs that our guys hold in order to dictate a game.
One of the things that kind of drew me, obviously I was following Jake and follow any of our guys that are at the next level, but it seemed like this year, and obviously you had the right signal caller, but very quarterback-centric run game. We've always kind of believed in that +1 philosophy. So talk to me a little bit about that. One of the things that was so interesting about you guys is we had a lot of design quarterback runs. You guys had a lot of quarterback empty, a lot of, tight end wing, quarterback empty, whatever you want to call it there. But obviously the quarterback making some runs on some gap scheme stuff. But talk to us a little bit about the quarterback run game.
Yeah, I think there are a couple ways to look at it. I think, you want to bring the best out of your players. And we've had some great quarterbacks, and, we've had 5 different guys starting this system throughout the years at River Falls, and they've all had different strengths. So you always want to play towards those strengths, but also have a system that works no matter who's in there. So I think one thing we recognized early on, tempo offenses are dying across the country, especially with helmet comms now. I think more of the trend is to, and again, it's not right or wrong. I just think we're going to use the helmet comms. We're going to be real wordy so we can do a lot of different things and get guys in different positions. When you're a tempo offense, the last thing you want to do is sub. The last thing you want to do is slow down, because that's the advantage to your offense. What I found out right away in 2021, teams were really, really well versed and prepared to defend 11 personnel RPOs. Defenses are really good at aligning to them. They'll ball key and kind of funnel the football where they want it to go. Defenses will allocate the ball where they want it now with their alignment or their ball keying. So we had to find a way to be really efficient so that we could get the first down, stay on the field, and help our team. Because if we go 3 and out, or if we're not maintaining possession and not snapping it a bunch of times, it's not a very good recipe for team success. So a lot of the quarterback run stuff is to create a level of distortion, to create free access throws in the RPO game. Or, hey, we can, like you said, Coach, be +1 and create an advantage. And we've really evolved that over the years now to create different types of advantages, whether it's using the running back to lead for the quarterback, to help the O-line somewhere. We'll use the running back to help on a double team or cover up. Like, there's a great player on the defensive line. He can help with that color just to pop the play out. Versus being +1, it's like, hey, against this front, we need our running back to help to be at net 0, for an example. So we'll do different things like that. But really, to answer your question, the reason why is because we need to create distortion in order to stay really efficient, to snap it a bunch of times, to move the chains. We don't think it's very easy to just roll the ball out there and run zone bubble up and down the field anymore. It's hard to do. Now, do we do some of that? Sure, we do some of that, but it's not easy to do with these defenses. And I think really the only way is if you have the best O-line, the best running backs, the best receivers, the best everything, and that's not always a reality. And then similarly speaking, at the quarterback position, okay, if we say we have these great goals of winning the conference, winning a national title, making the playoffs, is your kid the best in the league by a lot? A lot? If not, he's running for us. Like, okay, unless he's just so head and shoulders a no-brainer NFL guy, you're going to run in this system in order to have the sort of production that we believe we can have.
Related to that, heard a lot of tempo guys talk about that first down being so important. And I think the statistics, a lot of those, you get 2 first downs, most of the time you're scoring. But let me ask you this, in relation to that, understanding how important, in a typical game plan, how many drive starters do you have certain drive starters? This is how we're going to start these drives listed, or what is your thinking there? Because a lot of times I think the hardest call to make is the first one. After you get in a rhythm and you're going, you can kind of get those calls spit out pretty quickly. But how do you go about drive starters?
That's a fantastic question, because you nailed it. It's all about getting that first down. It's more important than the situational calls. It's much more important than 3rd down. It's much more important than red zone. It really is for this style of play. So I love that you bring that up. I think we always talk about tempo's our advantage. Well, when don't we have tempo? It's P and 10, right? It's that first play of the drive. So what we've done is we've invested in some motions and some concepts where we're not gonna be static on that P and 10 play. We're gonna motion to a stack. We're gonna do different things to try and get the defense out of their comfort zone. And a lot of my time is spent during the week developing what we call drive igniters. So drive igniters are pockets of mini scripts to get that first down. So complementary calls. So yeah, it's an opener call, but then a lot of times it's the next few calls that could easily complement. And you'll understand what I'm saying, Coach, when I say, hey, maybe we're running a certain concept on first down. There's a receiver that's lined up here that'll end up there. And now we can run a play where he's there. We can really get the defense outflanked or challenge them with a numbers advantage, a matchup advantage. So they're mini scripts, and we call them our drive igniters. And those are something we work on with the kids because we know how important that element is. So it's always at the forefront of our game planning process. And then like you're saying, I think we have had to change in the last year or so and develop some motion, because motions are really expensive in a tempo offense, depending on what you're doing, if you want to have a variety of them. So that's something we've studied hard and found some coaches a heck of a lot smarter than myself to go study and learn from to try and do a little better in those scenarios.
You know, one of the things about the tempo offense is you hear a lot of guys say the faster you operate, the less concepts that you need. I don't know what your thought is on that, but walk me through how many concepts do you guys think you carry? Run game, pass game. What are you thinking within your offense that in that regard?
Yeah, I think that's true. That's true, and there are a lot of ways to think about this. I think one way we try to think about it is how many days do you have to install. And for us, we've strictly adhered to a 3-day install philosophy, so that 85% of the offense in general, maybe 95% of the concepts should be in 3 days. And we fully compartmentalize those days. Day one, all those concepts you've got, so really what should that be, about 30% of your offense, right? You're going to run all those plays day one and repeat them. And then you're going to move on to day two. So day two of camp, there's no continuity to day one for the most part. Now, I say that, but procedurally, your operation is always the same. Certainly formationally, there's going to be carryover. So I say that, but so day two, it's like day one all over again for the kids. Bang. Day three, it's like day one all over again. So we compartmentalize everything, and then day four, back to day one, repeat it again. Day five, back to day two. And I think there's a certain discipline to it. Well, how much can you install? Well, how many plays are you going to run that day? That you're stuck. Now you have structure. Now you have structure in what you can actually get good at and what you can actually rep, which I've always found to be useful. So we've been a 3-day install team, and really, it's like, well, what do you run? That's the core of what we run. That's who we are. So you look at, it's right before Christmas, December 20th or 21st, we're running that stuff. That's what our game plan is in the playoffs, and it's our 14th game. That's what we're running, and that stuff's carried over. So to your point, we've worked really hard in spring football, for example, to scrutinize certain concepts to make sure they bring the value. Like the juice has to be worth the squeeze. I think one of my favorite things about this style of offense, and why I think a lot of high school guys have really gravitated towards some of the principles of what we do, your inputs equal your outputs in this system. There's not a lot of waste. So if it's something you're working on, you get a bunch of production out of it. And that's always the goal. Now, is it ever perfect? No. But that's what we're always striving for, and things change. Trends in footballs change. And what maybe it's a certain defense. Maybe you're much more talented than one team you play, but another team you play that matters for you to reach your goal, they run a particular system where that's got to be your best football that you have installed, something to beat that, right, to reach your goal. So that's something we've taken power out of the offense because of that before. Hey, we don't have room for this. And I love power, and we ran it for years, ran it at all different stops I've been at. Well, sometimes you have to remove concepts in order to master another one that helps you beat your rival or whatever it may be. So it's something we think about a lot.
What is your balance between gap scheme and zone scheme typically, Coach?
Well, yeah, in the previous years, we've installed, I think inside zone's great. There's a lot of versatility to the concept. It's been a great situational call. We scored a lot of touchdowns, a lot of first downs, converting just because of how principled that concept can be and how sound that concept can be and how you can provide a lot of different looks. I don't think the zone read play has yielded the sort of explosives it maybe used to in the past because of how good teams are at scraping and bringing that backer over to play it. And I could talk more about it. We've dabbled in, I feel like we've always dabbled in some outside zone or mid zone throughout the years that's one we've always discussed, whether it's mid zone or outside zone. So I think there's a lot of value there because it's something else the defense needs to fit. But I'm a gap scheme guy as a play caller, and the reason why is when you're looking at the full picture of it, moving gaps creates such a pronounced fit from the defense. From an RPO standpoint, it's always the best. I think it moves those chess pieces around post snap, and you can almost predict what the defense may do. While offensively, you can provide a lot of different looks, but I think conceptually, as a play caller, you can really see and visualize what's going to happen post snap, which is, I think that's the name of the game. And defenses are good at disguising coverages. They're good at, like I said, giving the look to talk you out of running something or doing something. Can you hold on to the marker and be the last with the marker with what you're doing offensively? And I think gap scheme RPOs allow you to do that because they have to fit it.
Coach, when you were talking about practice planning, that was kind of music to my ears because we are 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6 are just 1, 2, and 3 again. 7.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
1 is 4 is 7, 2 is 5 is 8, 3 is 6 is 9, and try to get through that as many times as possible before we got to play a ball game. But talk to me a little bit more. Obviously, the secret sauce got to be in how you practice, and particularly in the style of play that you guys run. So maybe walk me through how you guys do the periods, how you steal reps, because I think that's really important in a tempo offense, is stealing reps in periods where, and it obviously is different at the college level than the high school level, but talk to me a little bit about your practice planning.
Yeah, I think one thing for certain is that we are a repetition-heavy team, first and foremost, in unit. So it takes a level of buy-in on both sides of the football and with the head coach to believe in that, because it is a little bit less group and individual time. We dedicate a lot of time to team, and it's quarterback-centric. Like you said, it's really quarterback-centric, because if we're going to be in a lot of different formations and a lot of different sets, running a lot of different types of RPOs and a lot of different post-snap reads, I'm not super interested in drills for those. I mean, I think there's a time and a place, and we teach and progress that way like anyone else would, but the real value comes from being able to understand 11-on-11 football. And I always say this, like, hey, we don't want a zoo animal at quarterback. We want someone who can go out in the wild and hunt, right? Like, hey, we don't want this real sterile environment that's not very realistic, because that backside safety is going to be there. And who knows how some of these players will behave. So I think that philosophy is important. We were at 120 reps of team every practice in fall camp at River Falls, not including Skelly. So it's a lot of reps. Now, we had a big enough roster to do it. Not everyone does. But you can have your version of that. So we were a rep-heavy team. And 6 plays a rack, we'd say, for reps, and then rotating guys. Skill guys, we rotate more liberally the more we've learned about trying to save their legs and keep those guys playing fast towards the end of the season. But rep heavy. Getting into, game week stuff. We played on Saturday, so it's a little different. But, looking at the week, Sundays were off. Monday, we did what we called, like going back to what you're saying, Coach, we call it class on grass. So it's not a practice, maybe 45 minutes to an hour of jogging around, kind of a jog through, like you're saying, stealing reps against the defense we're going to face as base looks. Hey, they play Tampa first and second down calls. Here, talk a little personnel. Okay, they've got a 6-2 corner into the boundary. We got to think about how we want to attack him when he presses us. All those little things, coaches are just kind of walking around while we rep that base core plan against the looks we'll see. Because so much of what we do is not installing anything new. It's just applying already what we do against what we're going to see. So class on grass Monday. Tuesday, first and second down calls. So during the season, then, we'll evolve to 3 team periods of 24 reps. And then, depending on the time of year, some additional skelly reps or half line. Then Wednesday, that's our situational day. So we've been 24 reps of red zone, 24 reps of third down. And then what we call a cleanup period, where, hey, 24 reps of anything from Tuesday we didn't like or we wanted to correct, that I kind of give the coaching staff, like, hey, speak now or forever hold your peace if you want that in the plan, if we need to rework it again. And then Thursday, we're a no-sweat Thursday team, so we pull off. And that's, again, talking about stealing reps. We probably get through 90 to 100 reps of walkthrough. Just everything, seeing the signal program, whatever it may be, getting eyes on all that. But so that's something that we work at, so the kids just have those reps. And then Friday, Fast Friday, 4 reps of third down, 4 reps of red zone, done. Then we do our drive igniters on air, and that's really all. But it's all full speed, very intentional.
Coach, when you're going through your game planning, talk to me about a couple things there. Game planning wise, what are some things you're looking for in attacking a defense? There's certain runs I like better against an odd front and an even front, and obviously you probably see a little bit of more blended fronts at the high school level. You will see some of that, but for the most part, teams are an odd or an even. Where your level, I would imagine you see a little bit of both week to week. But 2 questions: what's the number one? What are you looking for in your game plan? What are areas you like to attack against certain things? And then the next one is one that I've asked a lot of guys, and I really enjoy this question: how many plays? And I'm not talking about concepts, but how many plays would you say you go into a game plan with? Or is it just all available all the time? A lot of guys say, hey, we got our menu, and then this week we're taking this off the menu, and we got 50 plays in the game plan or whatever. But how many plays would you go into a game plan with? And when you're game planning, what are the things you're looking for to attack?
Yeah, I think a big element of our game planning is very conventional. Hey, we're going to take formations, see how teams like to play it. Are you a 4-2-5? Are you a 4-3? Are you a crush front? Are you an odd front? Are you a bear team? Are you trying to be exotic with it and give a lot of different fronts, multiple front, 3 down team? Kind of what is your DNA, and how can we try and game plan and our RPO game, our base run game off of it, and just having a detailed understanding of what this team wants to do on first and second downs. I think maybe a couple of the more unique elements of our game planning, I just think we've been able to hold on to formations and RPO systems that purely dictate that we won't get on film ever, because we're in formations we won't see on film. We're running concepts we won't see on film, where I feel like, especially in the spread world, typically, all right, hey, they run a levels concept, they run mesh, they run zone bubble, they run, whatever it may be. There's always that carryover. We've dipped our toes in the water of carrying a lot of concepts that we won't see on a game plan. And I know some have the philosophy, hey, if we don't see that formation on film, we aren't going to carry it. We're almost the opposite. We have these universal formations and systems where it's almost triple option, like if-then thinking. All right, if they play zone, we should be able to get a free access RPO, or they're going to be short a gap in the quarterback run. If they man us up or match us up, here's where we want to attack them. Once we kind of get to that level, at the end of the day, I think you have to be prepared for man coverage. At the end of the day, you got to be prepared for one high man coverage. Well, where can we attack them? How? And then that gets back to your, okay, well, how do you think about this? How many coverage guys do they have that they like? That's going to tell you a lot about how they're going to play the football game, I think. How many receivers do you like on your own team? Where can you attack them and where can you align them? I think that's probably become more important as we've game planned. We probably carry 45 plays, first and second downs. It's too many, but I always get stuck carrying a few too many because we get, especially with the tempo, we get a lot of looks. So we will draw it up in the sand a little bit. We'll mismatch RPOs and formations, and we may not rep them during the week, but there's a certain standard and expectation that we can execute them, and I think, that's where we're able to identify guys who play a lot on Saturdays. Are you able to adjust and execute against some different looks on Saturdays? But going back to install, you should have that baseline of all your adjustments should be baked into that install, and those banked reps should show. I'm not saying anything drastic, but yeah, we'll. I think that's probably, it's like, hey, what is going to differentiate some of these systems versus others is the ability to adjust in game and continuing to put pressure on the defense based on what you see.
Coach, you talked about your tempo and practice and kind of, you said 6 play racks, and you talked about it with the skill guys, keeping those skill guys fresh. Is that the same thing you're doing with your linemen? Are you kind of 6 play bursts, getting 6 as quick as possible, and then, maybe doing some rotations? Or how do you guys go about that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. They stand for all 6, just like the quarterbacks, so they stand for all 6 and battle it out. Obviously, they're not putting on the mileage. A lot of what we're talking about or worried about has to do with soft tissue and hamstrings, things of that nature, so they don't have those worries, at least in our experience. So we try to truly rotate those guys. We've been in a position to do so. That's always the hardest position to recruit, retain, and develop. So we're trying to rotate those guys as much as possible in game too, if we have the ability to do it. I've had years at River Falls while we were running this system where we could rotate 8 guys in. We had 8 guys playing, which is awesome. Then last year we were probably closer to 6, just with guys who were ready at the level we wanted them to be. So that can vary, but a little different philosophy just because of the pure volume.
Coach, I know you talked about, big team emphasis in your guys' system there, but talk to me a little bit about, drill. Is it all teaming when you're drilling your RPOs? And kind of walk me through, dumb it down for me a little bit here, but if you were drilling RPOs with, a high school quarterback, what's the first one you'd put in, maybe the second one, third one? How do you progress with your RPOs?
Yeah, I think if you're playing with tempo, anytime you're able to align quickly, you have the ability to outflank the defense and create numbers advantages. So I think having some sort of bubble or stack RPO game is important. For us, we've probably gone more to stacks with our RPO now because I think bubbles are getting defended better now than ever. I think team defenses feel comfortable not matching numbers and still destructing, depending on personnel. So what we've done is, with our tempo, we'll stack, and I think it does a couple things for us. The hardest part about blocking in space, in my eyes, is space. The defenders are really comfortable. If you're out in space and you're trying to block an overhang or a DB, lunging, leaning, being too aggressive, those defenders are really good. The aggressive ones are really good at defeating those blocks. If you take the space away, I don't think it's as difficult of a play. So we like to create stacks, and then it doesn't matter. Now it doesn't matter if it's cloud, it doesn't matter if it's cover 2, it doesn't matter how it almost takes away some of the mystery in how they're going to defend the play and the mechanism. So the best thing ever is if we stack guys and they point it up, it appears like a difficult block or play. It's really not. Cover him up. He goes right, take him right. He goes left. We don't really care. We're just going to get vertical off it anyway. So we've gone to these stacks. The other thing I think is for the quarterbacks, it's not as cloudy. If you stack receivers, it's going to be a tell, and they're going to know if they have the defense outflanked or if there's a numbers advantage. So I think just having that built in, if you're a tempo system, I think it's worth it because you're able to get a line so quickly you can steal yards out there. If you're not a tempo team, I don't know that those are worth the squeeze anymore. It just depends. That would be my 2 cents. Again, we are, so we major in it still. And then for that, like talking about it, what's your quick game? Because for us, our quick game really mirrors. Our quick game lives as an RPO, as a draw, as a dash, as a drop back. It all kind of lives across. So our receivers aren't doing a lot of different things, but then, if you're a double slant team, I think you can RPO that. We're really not a double slant team. Maybe we will be next year, but what is it that you do in the pass game and then just drilling on the rag or whatever it may be with some dummy coaches, how are you going to get to it? Are you going to read the end first and triple option it? Are you reading the second level? And just mimic that with the mesh. And I think that's a good place to start. So, hey, are you going to run shock? Well, let's give some linebacker looks okay, maybe you're running some zone bubble triple option. Well, give that first read, give the second read, and just try and at least create the mechanics of the play, even if it won't play out super realistically. Like I said, those are the ones that bother me a little bit. It's like, I'm sure they're really scared of me out there playing, and the overhang. It's always a little different. So just getting them comfortable in space and at least comfortable with the mechanics of the play.
Coach, in watching you guys, saw a fair amount of kind of quarter, empty formations with GY RPO counters, quarterback counters seem to be a big part of your stuff there. Are you doing that so the tackle can hinge and block that backside end? And when you're doing your quarterback GY counters, are you reading inside backer? You're reading that overhang? What are you guys looking at there?
Yeah, for sure. That's a great observation. I think one thing about counter is it has a high level of versatility, so you get so much out of it. And you talked about before, I love gap scheme stuff. So you get two pullers going, you're going to get some sort of reaction. And we're more of an area reading team. We're really not drawing a triangle on anyone. We live in the gray area in general in this offense. That's where we make our money. It's never black and white. It's never easy. If it was, again, then something's up with the defense. It's not that easy. You got to be able to play around in that gray area. So for us, we're going to work areas. We're going to work matchups. As far as who that is, I think what we're good at is toggling it. Is that read going to be backside? Is it going to be front side? Are we going to read to the pullers or away from the pullers? That's something we're going to oscillate between throughout the game in order to keep the defense off balance and keep them on. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to vary that throughout the football game to try and take advantage of the defense trying to settle into a look. And the faster you play, the more base defenses would like to be. So you can usually get a pretty good idea of what they're going to do.
Coach, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. I got a ton out of that. I know coaches will be really excited to hear from you. I know everybody is excited to watch Drake and the continued evolution of the offense. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. This is great. Like I said, I think it's really cool just hearing from like I said, a bunch of different guys in that area, and I gotta shout out J.D. Hilton and his family, and what a tremendous player he was at River Falls. But that guy is a professional. He's from the moment he showed up to campus as a freshman. That guy, the approach he took, the professionalism and how hard he works. I think it's a testament to the program too, in the area, the types of people that are there. So I just think that's so cool. I had to give him a shout out too.
Well, yeah, he was. I remember seeing him his first day of summer workouts there, and I believe it was the COVID year. We had like groups of 9, I think, because he was a hoopster his freshman year, came out his sophomore year, and obviously a great player. So we appreciate you, Coach, and we will see everybody next time for another edition of the Blue and Gold Gridiron Show.